Hello. Today we are going to talk about this worksheet, mapping the asteroid belt. And we're going to talk about some of the regions within the asteroid belt and a little bit of detail about them. So first, let's make sure we know what we've got here. So we've got the sun in the center of the solar system, Mercury, then Venus, then Earth, and Mars. We're going to go ahead and label Mars, because the asteroid belt is going to be found between the orbit of Mars and then the orbit of Jupiter. So you can label Jupiter as well. Jupiter's here. Now, the main asteroid belt tends to be closer to the orbit of Mars, not so much closer to the orbit of Jupiter. So we're gonna start drawing some of these in. We don't have to draw as many as there are, but we want to get a sense of where the majority of these ones are in the main asteroid belt. Again, they're close to Mars. Now remember, even though it looks like a really dense cloud, the asteroids in the asteroid belt, even in this dense region around Mars, they are still 1,000,000 kilometers apart on average. 1,000,000 kilometers, so pretty far away from each other. All right, let's write in main belt here. And we're gonna add a little bit of detail. So main belt, this is most of our asteroids. Not all of them, but most of them. We have a high concentration in this main belt here. And I'm just gonna abbreviate that. High concentration. And this is, like we said, closer to Mars than it is to the outer orbit of Jupiter. Now, this is not the only area we're going to find asteroids in. We're going to see that they're in some other places as well. Let's start with the group that is found in Jupiter's orbit. So there's a group of them that are going to be found in two spots, some over here and then some over about here. We're going to fill this in. There's a cloud of them both behind Jupiter in its orbit and in front of Jupiter in its orbit, and it stays this equal distance. And that has to do with interactions of Jupiter's gravity. But as Jupiter goes around, so do each of these clusters of asteroids, kind of preceding and following Jupiter. And these are called the Trojans. All right, the Trojans, we're going to give some detail up here. Let's see, I'll do it right here. The Trojans, we already said, share the orbit with Jupiter. So it's like they've been caught up in Jupiter's gravity here, but they're not getting pulled into Jupiter. And then there's another grouping besides the Trojans that kind of move in and out of these fields. And it's really unusual, actually. Again, because of interactions with Jupiter, they're found in three spots and they kind of form a triangle. So the first part of this triangle is on the opposite side of Jupiter in its orbit. So we're going to draw a little cloud of asteroids out here. Okay. And then the next cloud of asteroids is in between the Trojans and the main belt. That forms the other part of the triangle. So I'm going to do a little cloud right here, kind of between these two. And then there's a third cloud between the Trojans over here and the main belt. And again, what you can see is that it forms this triangle. And that triangle of these three clouds, I guess I should have drawn these a little bit further down, but that's okay. They're not in the orbit here. They're a little bit lower. They're a little bit lower in the orbit, not right at the orbit, a little bit lower. That triangle forms again because of Jupiter's gravity and how these ones interact. And these are called the Hilda group. Hilda. And let's put some notes here. Whoops. Hilda forms triangle, pointed away from Jupiter. And if you look at animations on YouTube, there's this fantastic animation that shows this whole process as Jupiter is going into its orbit. It shows the Trojans moving, and then it shows the asteroids of the Hilda kind of like going in and out, but generally following this triangle. But they're kind of like moving towards the Trojans, moving towards the main belt, and just in and out of this sweeping pattern. Okay, so that's a little bit more detail about the asteroid belt. Thank you very much.